Quarantine is a post-apocalyptic first-person shooter racing game developed by Image Excel for MS-DOS in 1994, 3DO in 1995, as well as PlayStation and Sega Saturn in 1996, though those last two versions would be censored and only made available in Japan under the name Hard Rock Cab. Just about any coverage of this game will refer to it as a Doom clone, despite most likely being developed around the same time as Doom, and being primarily a racing game. But I don't know, in the early 90s, if it was first person, it was a Doom. Rise of the Triad, Doom. Pathways into Darkness, Doom. Hover Tank 3D, Doom. Doom 64. Ooh, you better believe that's a Doom. I would not consider Quarantine a Doom clone. I mean, one's a shooter where you shoot demons, one's a driver where you drive a car and shoot pedestrians. You don't got a monopoly on the first-person perspective, id. Yeah, that's right, I learned how to pronounce your name. What are you gonna do about it? Founded in 1981 and consisting of a handful of people, Image Excel was a scrappy little dev team that had previously worked on a motorcycle game called Ultimate Ride. If you look at the comments for the video Accursed Farms did for the game, and that's it, you don't watch it because then you're gonna be charmed and entertained, and then you'll fucking forget about me. One of the original developers answered a few questions in the comments and shed some insight into the bedroom production this game received, and how, after continued difficulties with their in-house level editor, they wound up relying on one a hacker had built using the game's demo. After Quarantine, they were bought out and absorbed into Alternative Reality Technologies, the development wing of their publisher GameTech. This partnership would last long enough to produce the game's sequel, Road Warrior, until 1999, when Rockstar kicked the door in, mustache still saturated with cocaine, and yelled, you guys making a game about driving and shooting? You should come do that for us. Yeah, that's like literally all we do. So both studios would be absorbed and renamed Rockstar Toronto, where they would pump out, take a guess, as well as other odd jobs like porting Oni and Max Payne to PS2. And that's sort of how they've carried on since. Reviews for Quarantine were mostly middle of the road. You know, because you're in the middle of the road because you're driving. Please, just this one. Electronic Gaming Monthly would criticize it for being repetitive and having wonky controls, but admit that, well, there isn't really much else like it, is there? GamePro loved it, and apparently got Eminem to write their review.
Doom lovers looking to score more gore will dig this grim, futuristic saga that spares no fares.
I know this isn't normally the kind of thing I like to talk about, and I don't know why I did. It's never been more clear than when I sat down to write my thoughts about these games. It's very much an experiment in pushing myself on the ethos of, haha, wouldn't that be funny? And I suppose the jury's still out on that one. Quarantine doesn't have a story so much as a really fun setup, an even more fun opening cutscene, but I grant it the pass that video game storytelling in 1994 was quite fetal. So while you did have something like Police Knots and Hell, which both came out the same year and were very plot and world building heavy for their time, the bar was pretty low, and Quarantine seems more concerned with its world having character and being fun from a gameplay perspective, more than providing a narrative, which is genuinely a shame because I f*** with 90s cyberpunk so hard, and there is a really great darkly comedic pop culture infused concept being played with. Just a couple years from now, I guess, a fictional crime-ridden city called Chemo is so overrun with crime that crime itself has replaced the economy. It is quite literally Crime City. Gone are the days of accountants and construction workers. In this world, your 9 to 5 is doing crime. So while everyone's out downloading cars, a sinister megacorporation called Omnicorp arrives and assumes authority, promising to rid the city of crime with their mysterious Project Q. In the meantime, they begin building a 10-meter tall wall around the city, waving the population's concerns about it away. I'm sorry, what wall are you talking about? Oh, I wouldn't worry about that. You gotta have walls. Like, what he's so kind of dark? You'll get it. You'll see the wall when it's done, and then you'll be like, I'm glad we did that. It's gonna be a good one. very symmetrical. Presumably something like that happened in different variations over the course of 6 years or so. Once the wall is complete, in the slowest, most predictable psych-out imaginable, Omnicorp seals the city's only exit and turns it into a prison, prompting the population to give a resounding, "Hey, now hang on." Chemo functions as a prison hellscape for a good decade before Omnicorp gets the idea to take advantage of having a citywide rat utopia and starts dosing the water supply with something called Hydrogen 344, a drug developed to stop all the crime. Unbeknownst to Omnicorp, however, Chemo's water supply already had dangerously high levels of crime bacteria, which overpowers and assimilates the hydrogen and creates a crime virus. Half the population is turned into crazed, psychotic murderers. Enter Drake Edgewater, a hover cab driver just trying to make a buck in this crazy world the only way he knows how, driving cartoon characters around to various locations while murdering hundreds of red-eyed crime junkies along the way. I can't tell you how excited I was to play this game after seeing this opening. For the length of this cutscene, I was fully under the impression that I had just found my new favorite game. And then I started playing it and that idea receded real quick. But in a general sense, I see a lot of charm in this world. It's an amusing juxtaposition of extreme violence, evil corporations, and these wacky customers that spout off-color jokes and seem to be just out here trying to live in this hostile war zone. In between regular customers, Drake picks up members of local gangs and resistance groups that are working to loosen Omnicorp's grasp on the city. Spoiler break, if you don't want to know how this story plays out, you can go ahead and skip to this time. I understand it's important for some folks out there that they consume a game's story on their own and have a completely untainted experience. I totally respect that. So if you've prepared yourself and made your decision as to whether or not you'd like to skip or continue with the analysis of this game's plot, then without further ado, let's get right back in there and, hang on. Thanks for being so understanding and willing to put up with the constant changes and just work being done to shape this channel. I'm an indecisive person, very changeable. Even now I'm thinking I should probably alter my opening in some way. I just can't commit. But you guys, for the most part, have stuck around anyway. I don't know. Maybe I'm worrying about nothing, but I'll see you non-spoiler guys after the jump. So he leaves. He gets out. And that's the end. It's the end of the game. He left. Welcome back. It is what it is. You spend the game trying to do a thing, you do the thing, and you cut to black, and the game's finished. So congratulations. The gameplay loop of Quarantine is very simple, behaving something like a cross between Twisted Metal and Crazy Taxi. You drive around the city, which is divided into levels, picking up fares, some of which simply want to go from point A to point B, making the challenge getting there within the time limit and alive. Failing a mission is technically really forgiving because you can always pick up someone else who will reset the same mission. Every once in a while, though, you'll pick up a story character that will give you a task other than driving, that more often than not will be destroying a group of enemies or a building. Drake's cab is equipped with a number of different weapons that you can buy ammo for and upgrade at weapon stations. These stations, as well as repair stations where you can also buy armor and speed boosts, are scattered all over the map. Once you've accomplished all of the goals in one area, someone will give you the password to move on to the next part of Chemo. The different areas slowly ramp up the difficulty and relentlessness of Quarantine, but there isn't much difference between areas. The most notable one to me was the park area, which has far fewer obstacles, allowing you to race around more. But your hover car can only continue off-road for so long before it starts draining your health. I wish there were more areas with this kind of scale, or at least with so few things to bump into, because the game almost feels really nice when you're allowed to just cruise around and dodge explosives and whatnot. But 90% of the game does not allow for that. I can't make it more than a few feet in these dark, claustrophobic city streets without ramming into something. If you know what I'm talking about, baby! You know what? I don't think it's that kind of show. Seriously, just driving? doing the central action this game revolves around is so unwieldy and slippery. You're slamming into buildings, other cars, they're slamming into you and shooting guns and dropping mines. There are environmental threats like walls that shoot missiles and floating bombs, an endless variety of random jackoffs just shooting at you, some appearing from the tops of buildings or out of manholes. Because of the draw distance, you can't see more than 5 feet in front of you while you're careening through a gauntlet of douchebaggery. I haven't experienced this much gamer rage since Super Mario Oops All Ice levels. All of these obstacles become so overwhelming that you need to, after every trip, visit the repair and weapon stations. Like in the later levels, you cannot make it from one point to another without losing all your armor and half your health, and I want to make it clear that the game isn't what I'd call prohibitively difficult. Older games are often more difficult as, that's all they had to supplement game length. But it's absolutely playable. Like, once you understand the car's abilities and begin to anticipate all the wacky design choices, you can probably make it through just fine. For me, it's more that the random, chaotic feeling of it never feels fair or satisfying. There is already more than enough difficulty in the game's loop, but add to this the wide hitbox given to everything and the frequency at which you just get locked between two objects you can't see or stuck inside a building. I just want to repair my car. Just please let me get in there. Like, I'll give you money after this. I just want to fix my fucking car. Whenever a car phases into existence and I hit it and lose momentum, I feel a full body sigh. Whatever the opposite of serotonin is, serotonin out, I guess. I'm gonna buy a gun. Well, whatever that is, that's what I'm feeling. And that same developer gives some tips about using the nitro boost on straight roads to push cars away, but you still stop. Like, that's the part that is killing me. There's so many things that want to stop you. Like, the thing that feels good while you're playing it is the thing they're doing everything in their power to stop you from doing. That opening sequence really oversold the importance of shooting out your window. Like, I really thought that was going to be a vitally important part of gameplay. Look at how fucking strapped this dude is. I was so pumped to just have a pile of guns to shoot at people. But you really only get one gun, and there wasn't a moment in the entire playthrough where there was cause or time even to shoot out the window. I can't think of a single circumstance where that would help you. Look how fucking fast I'm going. What is this gonna do? I can't even see what I'm shooting at. It's just a blur. When I think of what had to go into creating Quarantine, from a group of dudes plugging away at computers in a makeshift studio to winding up on store shelves with this rather clever and eye-catching box art, by the way, there is a feeling of awe within me. I have this deep-seated respect at the power of creation there, especially in an era when everything about that process seems so daunting and difficult. They didn't install Unity or Source and assemble something with ready-made assets that you can immediately publish on a digital platform. I can't imagine how massive an effort it would feel like to come up with and sell a new game with a clever gameplay twist and an ambitious open world in the fucking early 90s. And you know what? I'm gonna do what I can to hold on to this feeling. I have a special place in my heart for games that look like this. The digitized sprites and heavily pixelated aesthetic is great. The interface is fantastic and full of fun details. The design of it, like the vacuum tubing and a power outlet retrofit into the dashboard. And as you collect more weapons, they will become visible through the windshield. I mean, that's mostly why I was interested in playing it. The different areas feel visually distinct despite reusing much of the same assets, but this look really works best in the city at night, in a move that I think sorta freezes Quarantine's vibe into a charming 90s time capsule. The soundtrack is composed of 11 full songs from various Australian alt-rock bands, like Scream Theater, Smudge, and Crow. None of them are entirely my brand of 90s alt-rock, but I was enjoying it for maybe the first hour and a half, when I realized that they kind of play in one specific order that resets every time you die or load your game, which I did a heck of a lot of the time, especially in the beginning. Apparently there is a button to change the song, but I didn't see it in the manual, and I don't want to have to sit through the unskippable opening cutscene to check. So I'm just gonna accept not being diligent or responsible about that fact. For all I know, it doesn't exist. In any case, I really got familiar with that "The Driver Is You" song by the Fobs, which is objectively a nice little song and functions nicely as an almost de facto theme song, being lyrically apropos as it appears to be about hitting someone with a car. I just really got to hear it a lot. Every time I exploded, it was, "You're my friend." At my most angry moments, every time I went up against that fucking hover dude.
You're my friend, guilty but you can tell me.
Alright, this time, I'm all upgraded, I'm souped up, I'm ready to go.
Guilty but you can tell me. You're my friend. You're my friend. You're my friend.
Let's be honest about it. This is one tough game.
I really began to associate that song with failure, a role until then fulfilled by 33. So if you see me listening to that, I probably fucked up. Road Warrior Quarantine 2, developed and published by GameTech for PC in 1996. Reviews this time around would be a little more critical, as the landscape of shooters and the progress of 3D technology was beginning to outpace Quarantine. I mean, little me wasn't trying to play goddamn Quarantine. You know how much good shit came out in 1996? Actually, I'm sure that did not help. You try your darndest to put out your little car game when all the kids are out there playing Mr. Motherfucking Bones. I do not envy that team. And I guess there was like Resident Evil, Diablo, Quake, Persona, Tomb Raider, Duke Nukem, Daggerfall, Pokemon Red. If you even had time between all the trips to the Mr. Bone Zone. So, Road Warrior picks up right where the last game left off, but the franchise has gone through some noticeable stylistic changes. Gone are the gritty live-action cutscenes and dark sense of humor, and say hello to 90s comic book style animatics and pure, unabashed kookiness. It's nutty, it's zany, but there's comparatively much more of an actual plot. So, wait, this is a spoiler. Just skip ahead like 10 seconds. Nobody's gonna care. So after Drake escapes Chemo, he is greeted by an endless desert wasteland, which is far from the Norman Rockwell utopia he remembered the world looking like in the first game. He soon hits a rock, passes out, and is kidnapped by some wasteland thugs who force him to participate in a gladiatorial destruction derby match. I should mention that Drake has a character archetype now, and it's like unrepentant asshole, I guess that's what you could call it. That's like his thing now, so that's cool. After the match, he is enjoying his libations when a goblin guy named Van Volks shows up and tries to talk to him. This guy was the one responsible for smuggling the secret codes that got Drake out of Chemo City in the first place, and he could not give a shit about that. He just wants to get over to Flag City and relax. But what he doesn't know is Omnicorp owns Flag City as well, so he has to help Van Volks and the resistance group anyway. You dunce! Once he gets to Flag City, Volks bails him out of some trouble and again asks him to continue to help the resistance. He's about to turn him down when, yowza, hotsy totsy, step on me, nurse! So Drake decides to help out. And while this is happening, there are 4 figures that are out to get Drake after all the harm he caused Omnicorp in the first game. Lieutenant Jaeger, Mayor this guy, Chief that dude, you're not gonna remember their names, they're gonna die, and the head of Omnicorp, Torva Yule, a green lizard man in a suit And over the course of the game, Drake does a number of missions for the Resistance spanning several locations and usually involving killing Omnicorp figures or supporters or destroying Omnicorp property. He also comes across a multitude of colorful cartoon characters, and the revamped sense of humor these characters bring, I gotta tell you, is not great. It mostly consists of either pop culture references of the era, everyone wanting to fuck this dude because he's just the coolest guy on the planet, or legitimate cringe-inducing racism. Like, guys, there wasn't really ever a time when this was okay. You can't be like, yeah, well, it was different back then. No, this was always bad, even though my family does sound exactly like this. It's kind of spot on. But there's also this weird, like, whiny slam against game critics. I guess someone really got their feelings hurt after reviews for Quarantine came out. It's just a little weird, just a little pet, like, cause that's like something another game developer would look at and be like, ha, yeah, right, fuck those guys. But I'm the consumer, I'm the game player. I can't really say I'm like on your side. If you made a mediocre game, it's okay for somebody to say, yeah, I didn't really like that game of yours. Maybe that's because that's what I've chosen to do with my life. Maybe that's why I feel strongly about that.
I found the video very, very boring, actually.
Mm-hmm. But anywho, so this is a far more linear story functioning as a literal series of missions that lead one into the other. There isn't any time spent exploring or picking up regular fares, which makes for a more coherent story, albeit a paper-thin one, but infinitely more repetitive gameplay. So, I mean, there are things to spoil. I could spoil some stuff, so go ahead and take a moment to decide if you want to hear that. Decide what kind of person you are. Am I the kind of person that's going to play this, that has heard the story so far and wants to abstain from knowing one iota more, lest their experience be corrupted? Or am I a fraud? A fake gamer who would rather... No, I don't care. So this is what happens. At some point, it is revealed that there is a traitor among the Resistance, the sister of one of the bad guys. She attempts to steal the Resistance plans to assault Kriegstown, where Tori Amos is holed up. Oh, it kills a whole bunch of them. And death is a weird thing in this world. It's like played for laughs. Sometimes red shirts seem to explode into gore, but main characters react to bullets like it was a Tom and Jerry episode, giving them all a good, oh, you haven't seen the last of me, Drake moment. So with this lady out of the picture, they figure that it's okay to go ahead and attack Kriegstown. But this was a diversion because of the... shit. Now it's all blurring together. Torchic wants to kidnap Tracy, and he's gonna blow up Chemo City, I think. I forget if that's resolved or not. There's like a panel where they show a missile launching. Something happened with that. Chemo City might be destroyed. I don't remember. They might all be dead. The fuck? Yes?
The game is good, and you are not good at the game.
How am I doing? Ah, damn it. Drake has to go to Torrid's fortress and rescue Tracy, who he's cared about this whole time, I guess. I'm assuming entirely because, boy, yoy, mamma mia, wowie zowie. So she's strapped to a bomb, but the Resistance plans to blow up the fortress anyway. Also, I mean, either way, nobody communicated that, hey, guys, Tracy's in there. Let's see about getting her out before we, blow anything up. Instead, Drake races inside, defeats Toby Keith, and is reunited with Tracy. Oh, and I guess he loves her too. I didn't pick up on that vibe, but I guess, connections can grow quickly amidst a harrowing... Oh, they're dead. Oh, the bomb exploded anyway. They're dead. Oh, they died. Oh, everyone seems to be doing great in the aftermath. Society rebuilds. Volks becomes a cop. Drake and Tracy go to heaven, but find it's kind of lame, so they opt to go to hell, where it's apparently way more sick. And you could tell because this dude has an Oasis shirt. Okay, honestly, that's really fun. Like, I understand and appreciate the vibe they're going for with that kind of ending and all these cutscenes. It's very reminiscent of the comics I would read when I was younger, like stuff that slave labor graphics would put out, just without any kind of charm or originality. But boy, is it way less interesting than the feeling of the first one. Like, that one had no story, but I was still intrigued by the world. This is just a zany cartoon with even more clumsy pop culture references. Like, whenever you're traveling in between areas, you have to make it to the end of a desert road alive. And at the start of all these challenges, there's different flavor text. And some of them are just, lame, Like, they're just not funny. Like, have fun in the sun, don't eat the yellow sand, and enter Sandman. And then they get progressively further from humor. Sandorama, take off, you hoser. That's just a timely SCTV reference. That's Days of Our Lives. It's Wayne's World 2, I think. And that's not a reference to any, that's a real war that happened. Please. My sides can only split so much. Road Warrior is mechanically identical to its predecessor as far as control, but just about any choice or illusion of freedom you had in that game is stripped away, and you follow a pretty bland mission-based structure. You don't even need to concern yourself with upgrading or maintaining your car or its weapons, as at the start of every mission your health is refilled and you automatically have the weapon that is appropriate for the mission you're on. You're also no longer a functioning taxi. Like, you pick up the quest givers and you can even look in your backseat and see them chilling back there, but there is no exchange of money. You have no side hustle. You just do the Resistance's bidding. It's a very weird feeling, because if I had only played the first one, I would probably be criticizing that aspect of it. Like, that was the boring busy work part. But now that it's gone, the concept of this game feels really hollow. Now it's literally much more of a Doom clone. You're still timed during missions, but the time they give you is way more forgiving. We're talking like 5 minutes sometimes, when the max I saw in the first one was maybe 3. What I do appreciate is that, though it's still uncommon, there are more occasions to just fucking cruise across a landscape. I don't know, I still want that feeling, like I'm actually going somewhere, and I am somewhere. It wasn't the greatest game, but the Mad Max game that Avalanche put out in 2015 is one of few things that did give me that feeling. You know, the let's just go for a frickin' spin through the bones of humanity kind of feeling. The draw distance, while better, is still god-awful and caused me to crash into things, and yet again I would get stuck in environments or seemingly stun-locked in place. Especially when you're in the desert, it seems like enemies are programmed to perfectly swerve in front of your path, which annoys me even more because I elected to do this to myself twice. I could have just made this a one-off, but no, I was like, it'll be a more full, rich experience if I do both. Maybe the second one will be better and it'll redeem the first one. There are a few missions where I guess they concede that controlling the car for this would be too frustrating, so you can switch to a third-person view, where you can see more around you, but you don't really have a UI anymore. I guess running over people is kind of fun. I don't know why they all have to be wearing, like, Tron suits, though. It's not really reflective of the demographic I'd usually hit and run. I mean, this game sounds practically the same. They both overuse the same sound effects over and over again, which is sometimes funny, but it comes in waves. I was kind of hoping we'd get some more licensed music, but instead we get some really boring, like watered down industrial, kind of like a diluted thrill kill cult situation. Real sample heavy. There's this reoccurring bluegrass song that sounds great, actually. Like, the sound quality is noticeable. It's noticeably different from anything else. It's really pleasant, but it is bluegrass. All in all, sound and music seems kind of half-assed. Visually, it looks a little clearer, it's a little more stylized, but environments aren't as interesting. You get locations like an airport and a farm. Probably the most inventive area was a sardonic reimagining of Disneyland. I mean, in concept, it's really like a maze of circus tents. Clearly nobody on the dev team had been to Disneyland, as it's actually a maze of long lines and people that just decided to stop walking while you're right behind them. It's a walkway, you gotta keep walking, you fuck. Quarantine and Road Warrior are fun ideas. It's not even that I'm not into car-based action games, which I don't think I am, but I 100% feel like this is an idea that could work if revisited. But it can't be that linear if you're limiting me to the confines of a vehicle. I need to be able to go places and do shit other than a single straight line. If you gave me some dark, over-the-top humor with some really good-feeling gameplay, you let me upgrade and customize the car, you could even make it stylized like the comic book cutscenes, give it a sort of pseudo-cel-shaded look like Borderlands, except you could remove all of the "how do you do, fellow kids" jokes. Also, if you want to avoid all of Gearbox's mistakes, maybe just avoid all medieval times restaurants, just to be on the safe side. I feel like I had a lot of goofs about this game, but I would have absolutely loved to see this series grow and the developer grow instead of becoming another cog in the gluttonous juggernaut that is Rockstar. As far as the two we got, neither have much going on in the story department, neither have very responsive controls, but there were moments I caught myself having fun, running over clowns or chasing down pigs. I think, in all honesty, I had a better experience with Quarantine 1. It was more upsetting and frustrating, but it's more fulfilling to complete, I think. And I feel like there's a raw, inventive quality to it, whereas the sequel was trying a little too hard to be something else entirely. And despite not being crazy about either, both harken back to a wild, wild time in game design, where if a handful of devs wanted to make a game primarily about a cab driver running over people in a post-apocalyptic wasteland and sell it at Circuit City, you best believe they could. You can accomplish anything if you set your mind to it. Not really now, though. I was saying, back then you could. Kinda sucks. God damn it. I recorded all this just now and it wasn't recording, so I didn't record it. Fuck. Okay, well, thanks for watching the video. Means a lot to me. And special thanks to Resurrection, Ailing Uncle, Game Master, Bayard Brown, This Deal's Getting Worse All the Time, Nazim Kamalu Ray, Mr. Benjamin, Noose Time, Karen Mayville, Dark Raptor 86, I'm so mad, Charles Marr, Oisto, Alexander Sundin, Octo, Dylan Sorum, Alexander Smith, Joseph Zanoni, Nylanthrope, Daniel Person, Doss Days, Sebastian Wappler, Eldine Ronigan, Cole Davies, and Kanem. Thank you for donating at the highest tier on my Patreon. I appreciate it so much. I don't want you to think I'm skipping out on doing all the names. I figured I would just do that once a month, so you don't have a bunch of videos where there's an extra 6 minutes and you're like, oh, it's just you reading names. Why would I watch that? There's a motorcycle going by. So angry. Yeah, I'll get everybody's name next time. Also, the next video, there was a poll on Discord, and the winner was what's it called? Condemned 2 Bloodshot. I've never just revealed the next video before, but fuck it, it's already decided, so why not build hype for it? Anyway, look forward to that. Hope you're doing okay. Hope you're staying safe, and I will. And actually, go watch Ross's video because it is better than this one, and he's fucking good. I hate it. I just hate it. I just hate when people are better than me. Here's a song.
You're in my phone again, looking through my history. Found some things I guess you didn't wanna see. That formative trust gave way to rust. Think I'm pulling some tricks, talking to some chicks, trading dick pics, handing out the deep six. That ain't me. That ain't me. I wish I was that monster that the e-girls conjure. I'm just a gamer in the streets until you find the receipts. I guess we should have a chat. You weren't exactly supposed to see that. I think I wanted to save you the pain. It's only right that I should explain. Here goes. Been watching anime on my lunch breaks, it's true.